think there's 3 people that really stand out. It's me, Jankos, and Trick. I think the rest is a bit lower than us, but I think we are top 3.
Nice! Sidestep by Selfie! Jankos is there to finish.
I'm kinda aggressive early game jungler. I don't care about, you know, myself. I just care about my team.
I think I'm an aggressive jungler who can do a lot of pressure in the early game and make my lanes snowball.
Coming into the middle lane, Gilius has found Selfie! The kick into the binding!
Probably the word that every jungler is looking for when they play is to be as efficient as possible.
I think I'm a really aggressive early game jungler. We almost always move in the early game.
Frenzy on, Reckless is caught, he's first blooded!
I can explode at any moment. Like, I mean exploding in, like, I can go ham.
This is just a massacre for UOL.
Welcome everyone to the European LCS. We're coming to you live from our studio in Berlin, Germany, where you are getting a look at Elements, who had a fan meet right before the show and right before they take to the stage here in week 5, as well as the Unicorns of Love, because they'll be going up against H2K to maybe move up even higher in the standings. They're currently in the 3rd place, and in 1st place shared with G2 is H2K. We'll see if they can keep that going. As you can see, our studio is packed for week 5 as we are approaching the halfway mark of the split here already. Fantastic to see everyone absolutely fired up. And hello everybody, I'm EpicSkillshot supporter, joined on the desk by Season 1 World Champion jungler for Fnatic, Lauri Cyanide Happonen, as well as our very own James Tress O'Leary and Trevor Quickshot Henry. Very happy to have you back. Cyanide, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Very happy to be here once again as well, and hopefully I can provide some dank and, meaningful energy.
And some good one-liners, we'll see. In any case, just 5 games away from the halfway mark in spring 2016. G2 are sharing the top spot in the league with H2K. And the UOL round out the top 3 with Fnatic and Vitality right behind them. Cyanide, as a viewer, what have you found of our team so far?
I think teams are still in the kind of touch and go situation. Like, there is a lot of room to still improve. For example, like Origin and Fnatic kind of falling off from last year. Obviously Fnatic losing a lot of the players, and Origin like still more used to the objective metagame, and now the metagame is obviously more about like turrets and pushing, and that's what H2K and G2 are excelling at.
Yeah, and of course, with the fact that today is the day that officially makes halfway point, you're actually starting to run out of time to learn the meta to adapt. So from here going forward is where teams really have to turn the pressure on and figure out how to actually play in the current meta to pick up those wins.
And the meta is ever changing. For example, new to the Rift in week 5 is Jhin, the Virtuoso, now eligible for, well, pro play, and he brings another unique mechanic to the Rift.
Oh yeah, another champion, more uniqueness. This time it's all about the number 4 for Jhin. He has an ammo mechanic, has to reload after that 4th shot, but the 4th shot gives him a big crit that is 100% guaranteed. Here you can see his ultimate, the curtain call, another 4, but this is again all about that massive long-range damage with Jhin. Does have some drawbacks. We're not expecting him to be 100% picked and banned, but there's an outlier chance that we see him.
There is, and Sven has actually made Reddit a couple of times. He's got 2 pentakills on the champion already. I know we've seen him spamming it, but I'm excited to see if a team is brave enough to run a new champion, because on the stage, they're usually not.
I've actually played a lot of Jhin myself. I think he's really fun, and I think he does have a lot of potential, like with the traps in sieging and objective control. Like, it's really easy to kite into them, and it's really hard to pass them, obviously, when you're being attacked. And like the W is really long range, like almost a global snare to catch people, and the ultimate to follow up as well. But then again, he's really easy to assassinate and get caught, and the damage output isn't that high as other ADCs at the moment.
We'll see if a team dares to pick him, and all week long we're heading into the jungle, taking a closer look at everything between the lanes with some help from players both former and current. With a lot of ELO on the desk this week, we want you to ask a jungler, so tell us what you want to know at LOL Esports, and be sure to include that hashtag, and we'll get some answers later today.
There's not a lot yet.
No.
The ELO will come later.
Where are you at now, ELO-wise, Cyanide?
I mean, at the moment, I'm Diamond 2, but this is because I haven't played that much.
Yeah,
hang on, still higher than Deficio. Don't worry, don't worry. It's fine.
It's true. That's all what truly matters.
That is everything that truly matters. Well, looking towards today's games, we'll kick things off with a fight for the top of the standings between the Unicorns of Love and H2K, then Fnatic versus Elements, and later on G2 faces Vitality. Well, we started off strong. UOL versus H2K. Think of that matchup?
Yeah, obviously like two very strong teams at this point, and I think H2K has the slight advantage. I think they are a bit more of a flawless team, but then again, the beautiful game of League of Legends, anything can happen. I mean,
and this week's going to have a lot of beautiful games because you got obviously UOL H2K, Rocket Giants later in the day, Fnatic, well, tomorrow, H2K G2, UOL Fnatic, like OG Vitality. We've got so many sick games. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the wire this week. And as a reminder, this is the last day we'll see teams match up for the first time this split. After today, each team will have played every other squad once. And now to kick off Jungle Week, we'll start in pre-match with a look at Runes and Masteries. Take it away, Pulse.
Thank you so much, Sharks. And before we can take a look at what the pros are running, we have to see who they're actually taking into the jungle. So first of all, we're going to see who's right on top, which actually are Lee's, which is by far the most picked champion here, followed by Graves, Rek'Sai, and then Lee Sin, who are just in the next popular tier. And just below them is Kindred and Nidalee. So you can see a big fall-off between them and the big junglers. So we're going to focus in on the three major choices we've seen being played: the AP junglers, the marksmen, and the bruisers. So specifically, the Runes and Masteries, the pros are loading up onto the Rift with. So first, we're going to look into the rune pages. We see those AP junglers hitting the Rift. So first of all, we see this overall kind of fairly standard rune page for an AP-based champion, AP Quints and Glyphs, along with armor seals for early clears. The difference being on the LCS stage comes in those marks, however, with Elise players generally running attack speed for those faster clears, since most of her early damage comes in the form of auto-attacks versus those spells. On the other hand, Nidalee players often take flat AD marks, since this is a big part of her early clears. It revolves around those specific ability sequences and animation cancelling. So when it comes to the Masteries, we're going to swap over to those now. The two are even more similar. We see players taking double-edged sword, so all these choices are a little different over Feast a vast majority of the time. Since these champions don't really take a lot of damage in their initial clear, they don't really need the sustain from Feast. In the Cunning tree, here comes the big surprise, if the choice of Assassin over Runic Affinity. This mostly falls off and turns into playstyle, but gives a small but meaningful edge in duels and skirmishes throughout the whole game. Now we're going to move on to those marksman runes. And while this may look basically like a normal standard marksman rune page, there is some few key differences we need to point out here that you would never really see in the bottom lane when you take those AD carries. First of all, armor pen marks, scaling health seals, along with cooldown reduction glyphs, and AD quints. Those are the big differences. However, with these three champions, those unusual choices actually synergize really well in the 2016 jungle meta. With the health, specifically, it synergizes with the common items they pick up, like more of Malmortius, then Steric's Gauge, and then you look at the CDR option. It's more of a greedy one because you can get blown up by the mid lane, you can get blown up by AP casters, so it makes you a glass cannon, but it is really worth it in the long run in terms of that DPS. Now, moving on to those Masteries, things are much less varied, a lot like the first page we saw. The big outlier is Graves players often run Sorcery over Fury in the Ferocity tree, because this actually focuses in on his ability-focused kit versus those auto-attacks. And finally, we're going to move on to our last group here, is the Bruiser group. While the marks, seals, and glyphs are fairly standard, as you can see, the distinctions lie in the quintessences, where Rek'Sai players run attack speed for a more effective Queen's Wrath, which deals more damage to an AoE, and Lee Sin players take AD quints, because his kit revolves around weaving auto-attacks in with those abilities as well, which also scale from AD. Now, onto the Mastery pages, and this is where things really start to get interesting. The most common choice we see is Thunderlord's Keystone, which basically makes sense with a few champion-specific choices in the Ferocity tree. Just with attack speed on the rune pages, Lee Sin trends towards the sorcery, going with the auto attacks and the spells, whereas Rek'Sai goes with the attack speed, of course, from Fury. Then, 25% of the time, we see Bruisers climb the Resolve tree and settling on Strength of the Ages. Now, Strength of the Ages, this is a Keystone Mastery that gives an extra 300 HP as the jungler kills large monsters and siege minions, a bonus worth 800 gold in total when fully stacked. And then, when fully stacked, also restores 6% of max health once the 300 HP cap has been reached. So, fairly simple. The gold injection, however, really benefits the junglers with a weak clear speed, since they can't farm efficiently and don't get a big gold income. So we're seeing this choice a lot in Korea's LCK, and including last week in the LCS, but we are expecting it to spread westward more into the LCS and NA specifically this week. So, while it ultimately comes down to playstyle, hopefully this has given you some guidance where to take these meta junglers to Summoner's Rift and how to use them. And also, for a closer look at the meta picks, the runes, and the masteries, everything you've seen here, check out lolesports.com's Twitter, which will be sending them all after this segment. Now, back to you guys at the desk.
And you were mentioning how Strength of the Ages Cyanide is going to become very, very prevalent for our junglers.
Yeah, I think a lot more junglers are going to start picking it up because it's just like so much free stats. Like you can get it stack probably in like 10 minutes and it's just very, very strong.
Champions today that can run it with the Kindred, you know, the AD carry style, even the Elise style. Runic Echoes is such a young item, but still people are like, nah, give me Cinderhulk, give me tank, I need it.
Yeah, you know, there's something wrong with the mastery, right, when AD carries are going in the defensive tree to get that sweet, sweet HP.
Well, we see if our junglers in this matchup will go for it. We're about to see H2K going head-to-head with the Unicorns of Love at the top of the tables. Unicorns of Love, they're hot off a 2-0 week last week around, solidly in third place, and now they're on to their third jungler in 8 games. And very interestingly, they got 8 out of 8 First Bloods, and in 7 of those, their jungler was involved in. Cyanide, what do you make of this team that they're able to sub in any jungler and do really well?
I really don't know. Like either they are getting really lucky with the junglers, or there's like some external mastermind guiding the hand of the jungler here. Maybe Hyulsang or I have no idea.
Well, I mean, we are also a little bit perplexed when it's like, man, how are they doing so good with these different junglers? You mentioned Hyulsang. He's a guy that, you know, I think has come on leaps and bounds over the last year and a half in the LCS. He seems to be a very solid base and is one of these voices you've heard the players talk about. As a team, we've accepted these junglers, and it's worked very well. It's very, very impressive from the Unicorns.
And on top of that, they have, of course, the AD carry, who is very well able to hold his own. Fox seems to be gelling good with the team, and then Vizicachi, who is doing great in the meta.
So if I wanted to make a comeback as a jungler, I should probably
join UOL.
Yeah, UOL.
Yeah, that's it. They have everything going for that. In any case, looking towards H2K in this one, who are in shared first place with G2. They are dominant still, but they are looking a little less dominant now with Selfie in the mid lane than Rio, even though Selfie, for instance, last week had a great week. Why do you think that is?
I think Selfie is actually a really great player, but I also think he's probably the most tiltiest player in the LCS. Like, there are just some of these games when he randomly dies 1-on-1 and then it just plays terribly afterwards.
Yeah, we'll see what happens if you'd had to call it. I actually, before the season, I would say, okay, H2K will probably certainly take this, but in this one?
I still think H2K got the advantage.
Yeah. I think so as well. I think we just saw some stats there talking about the pacing of the game. Selfie's a little better earlier in the game, but I think Unicorns have come out with much better map-wide macro play. That kind of setup, and I think this could be, weirdly, could be the team to challenge H2K when it comes to a lane swap and tower pushing. Really weird saying that. But
no, I actually follow you on that. The Unicorns of Love actually have the highest gold at 10 minutes in the European LCS because of those First Bloods, but I do feel like they don't close out as games yet as soon as they could, and maybe a team like H2K who knows what to do in a macro strategy will be able to put something against that.
It's very possible. That's the thing, is like, how much does First Blood then ripple effect through? In a game that you're alluding to is about towers, sometimes it actually doesn't mean too much. If you take that First Blood but lose 2 towers for it, that can have a much bigger impact on the game. So much is going to depend on these first 10 minutes, and I'm excited. This is going to be such a good matchup.
We'll see what happens. Our players are ready, so for a roster rundown, we're going to head inside and meet our casters.